All right. We're trying to get ourselves situated. I think possibly we found our next home. Um, this is a vinyl wrap. I like that. Anyway, we're making room. We're reorganizing, and it's amazing how much you can cram into a service truck till you have to get out of one, and then you realize, holy smokes, I don't got enough toolbox. I mean, because when you're in a service truck, especially if you've been in one for years, you're always maximizing that last inch, that last little bit of what you can get into it. And it's amazing because we got this box, that box, this box, and we still got junk everywhere. I mean, it's just insane. But anyway, today's video, uh, talk about a couple of things. We're trying to reorganize, we're cleaning drawers, making room, uh, reorganizing, just trying to shuffle stuff around. And I come across some stuff I thought I'd talk about. There's the old coolant tester, the floating balls. Now with ELC, I mean, this thing's obsolete. Museum piece. Did many heads with this one. A lot of you youngsters don't know, but this is the original torque angle meter. And yeah, she earned her keep. Here's a favorite. Man, this thing's froze. There it is. So the older cars, when they used to have the old style fuse, you used to stick your hand in there. Watch this, and you'd pull on it, and they would pop that fuse out. For the older cars, another museum piece. And of course, the old stop leak. I always had that customer, didn't have the money. And, hey, it was the customer's choice, right? We didn't push it on them. How many have we done like that? This right here is actually a favorite tool of mine. It's a cheap ring compressor, but I think it works outstanding. I think it's a Lyle, and you can adjust it. You just put whatever band, then you flip it over and you lock it. Man, thing was sweet. At one time, I actually had 4 of them. Do 4 at a time, and I don't know. This is the last one I got left. Here's a tool that I bought, and this is it's a gear wrench. It's a screwdriver set. You got a stubby. You got a T-handle. And I only bought it for one reason and one reason only. Right here. It's a flex shaft. I used to work for Case, and they had what's called the 40XT, the 60XT, the 75XT, the 85 and the 95 were the high horsepower, high weight. Let me tell you what, man. The running joke was it was 10 pounds of crap in a 1 pound bag. And that right there, since it could flex, oh my God, you don't know how much of a lifesaver that was. I think it was mainly on the 95s and the 85s with AC units. That thing came in real handy. Some museum pieces. Boy, you'll never see that again. I don't think they even make these anymore. I even forgot about it, but anyway, we're gonna have to clean it up, lube it up. This right here, we'll save it. This is probably gonna go with me. You never know when you need it. It also works real good when you're doing hydraulic cylinders. It's just weird, you have to compress the packing. That thing does a good job. But anyway, another one that I came across that's a museum piece right here. The old machinist straight edge. I don't know why every time I go to a shop, and this is the way you're supposed to have it all the time. You never lay it flat. You never lay it anywhere. It's always supposed to hang so it never loses its shape and it stays true. Just a little FYI. Okay, so I got a story about a straight edge. Remember I told y'all about that? I went to a shop and then They were freaking out because I was doing all the checks, all the measurements. And they said, "What the heck you doing, man? We don't do that." Oh, okay, whatever. So we had this truck come in. It was a A-frame truck, 6-axle, super heavy duty, front 2 axles steered. I think axle 2 and 3 also steered, and axle 1 and 2 were in the front. They steered. Axle 2 and 3 steered. 3 and 4 steered. Axle 5 was straight, and axle 6 steered. But this thing had jumbo tires on it. Anyway, they messed up the engine. They overheated it, locked it up. So it comes to the shop. Remember, this is the shop. They didn't want us to be checking anything. It's just order the pieces, swap everything, and go. Well, this customer tells us, "Hey, I want y'all to pull the engine, and I want you to do the front structure, and I want you to do the rear structure. Since we're going to go in there, go ahead and get it out. And I want it super clean because, normally we did an M-frame. We didn't touch the front structure or the rear structure, But this guy wanted everything: water pump, cooler, oil pump. He didn't skimp. So they get the engine out and they clean it up. And back then, since it was flat rate, the way they would do it is you take everything over to the wash rack, power wash it. Then you bring it over and you spray it down with WD-40, and then you just start wiping down and just go to town and put it together. So this guy gets the block back over, puts it together, lays in the new crank. I think we went with a new crank because the customer had already had 3 rebuilds on it, and the crank was kind of needed turning, and he didn't want to wait, so we got a new crank. So we get the new crank, and then the guy installs it in the block. Have you ever seen that show, Swamp People, when they're trying to get the gator in the boat and that everything's all twisting? Well, that's how that guy looked. He was trying to turn that crank, and that block was flipping and flopping. Boy, I'll tell you what, I actually yelled out. Remember that Troy and Elizabeth, and Troy would tell him, "Shoot him, Elizabeth." I did that. "Shoot her, Elizabeth." He didn't like it. He got real angry. So anyway, I didn't get involved. So they messed around with that thing for 2 to 3 days. Wrong bearings. Nope. Got 2 different sets, still the same thing. And then they thought the guy had mismatched the caps. So there they are, trying to do whatever. Finally, the shop manager walks over to me and he says, "Hey, man," he goes, "I need you to bring your tool set tomorrow, your micrometers, and I need you to check that block." He goes, "And I'm going to pay you for it." He goes, "I need to know what's wrong with that block." I goes, "I need to know what's wrong with that installation. What's going on? Why that crankshaft's locking up." This is where being a parts changer and being a technician is very obvious. So the first thing I do, I take off all the caps and I lay the straight edge in there. On the it's a 6-cylinder big cat, and I lay the straight edge. That block's twisted. They had already quoted the job, and what do you do? And the guy said, "No, I want my original block." So we had to send it to the machine shop. They had to cut the caps, make them smaller, and then they had to, bore it out. And if anybody's familiar with that process, Line-Hone wasn't going to get it. I can tell you that right now. They had to bore it, and it was horrible. So they went ahead and they line bored it, and then we got into some, it's like a domino effect. Then we got into another set of problems. They line bored it, but then we couldn't get the gear lash. They put it together and that thing would run. It sounded good. It sounded like a hot rod. You could hear them gears, boy. I tell you what, especially when it was cold. Woo! That thing was humming. Anyway, it's funny because a lot of people see this and then they're like, "What is that? What does it do? How does it work?" And shred edge. Don't need it, but when you need it, tell you what, save you a big headache, not to mention a big comeback. Hey, anyway, went kind of long. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. I appreciate it.